But then ultimately, I ended up selling crack, right? And so for me, it was like, hey, it was easy. And so even when I went to prison, the one thing that I found out was a lot of people who I had been selling drugs to, they were in prison, right? But they no longer were battling with a crack epidemic. They were telling me stories of them being drug dealers now, right? And it's like, hold on, wait, like I remember you was my doorman. But it prepared us, so through my transition, right, I looked at that, and so when I came home, after just serving 3.5 years in state prison, for drugs, obstruction of justice, kidnapping was dismissed. What I realized was I had a debt, and what happened was it was a 9-month-old baby by the name of Derrick Dwayne Miller. He was murdered on the west side of Detroit. And when they said that a 9-month-old baby was murdered due to gun violence, it was a false narrative, right, to say that children and women had always been off limits, when in fact that was never true. If a woman participated in the drug trade, she subjected herself to the same punishments as a man who did. And I used to tell people, like, we can't tell that lie anymore. Because if a lady was a nurse working at a hospital and her boyfriend was out hustling, and correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I'm generation behind y'all, if that woman was a nurse working at the hospital and her boyfriend was selling drugs and they knew the work was in her house, they was coming in there and they wouldn't hesitate to tie her up, right? Because she subjected herself to the game. I tell young people today, there's no rules to the game. You make the rules up as you go along. People use the rules to soothe themselves and make themselves feel better. I felt like I was a good drug dealer because I would stop the ice cream truck because I was in the projects. I seen the drug dealers doing this, so I took on that. And I get Miss Elliott grass cut. I stop the ice cream truck. I look out for a single mom with children, right? And I felt like that made me a good guy, when in fact it wasn't, right? And so when we tell these narratives now in service, right, with our young people, I let them know, I say, man, if you can tell me the man and or woman who created the rule book to the game, because I learned the game, again, from my grandparents to my parents, and this is what I witnessed. It wasn't uncommon to walk in the house and all four eyes are on the stove, baby Gerber jars going, and then we graduated to Pyrexes. We graduated from triple beans to the digital scales, right? So these was the things that, right, you know what I'm saying? And so that was the old school thing. And so in my generation, when I came with the triple bean and we started, it was like, man, it innovated to the digital scale.
Right.
We went to selling rocks and being able to weight our rocks because I wasn't a weight pusher. I actually just sold crack, right? And so again, these young guys, we let them know, like, hey man, I owe. Prison didn't allow me to say that you owe to society the way you destroyed families. That's you right, you're wrong. It's like, no, you took lives. And so the only way you can right that wrong and taking a life is actually by saving lives. If you're not willing to save